When Konosuba first dropped back in 2016, it took over the anime community. Everyone was drawn towards this isekai anime, which hilariously parodied the isekai genre during a time where isekai wasn't as saturated as it is now. It was a very refreshing show in this aspect, and it really excelled at your typical anime humor, involving loud screams, ecchi gags, and a whole lot of shenanigans in general. Konosuba memes were everywhere. Every template, every reference, it was Konosuba. As someone who wasn't watching Konosuba weekly at the time, even I knew who the useless goddess known as Aqua was, along with the three other goons that the main character, Kazuma, had in his party. There were tons of gender equality jokes following the airing of Konosuba, and I couldn't stop seeing this explosion magic merchant everywhere. It was truly a cultural phenomenon at the time. Although Konosuba isn't as popular as it was back then, it's still a fairly well-known anime within the community. As someone who never watched past season 2 back in the day, I was curious to see how Konosuba held up when it comes to comedy in the current day, especially since Konosuba season 3 was just airing. The anime community's changed a lot ever since Konosuba came out thanks to smash hit anime like My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen, and the way people perceive anime in general has changed a lot. The community is a lot bigger, shows are a lot more varied, and the competition is so stiff that most people only pay attention to the truly special shows. The cliche jokes that everyone loved back then that often involved harassment and a lot of screaming to accentuate a phrase to make it funnier isn't nearly as loved now, and I, along with many others, feels like we moved on from that kind of humor. Is Konosuba really that funny, or was it a product of its time that should remain in the past? I've thought about this for a while, but since I romanticized the idea of Konosuba that I thoroughly enjoyed back in the day, I never went back and watched it as a whole, so I watched all of it. After 3 seasons and a movie, I've come to the conclusion that Konosuba is still absolutely hilarious. In fact, after watching a lot of isekai in general and coming back to Konosuba and seeing all the jokes it pokes at the genre, I gotta say, I probably enjoy Konosuba even more now than I did back in the day, and that's thanks to the 4 lovable idiots that helmed the show, along with their incredible voice actors. The first thing you gotta understand about Konosuba is that it is insanely unserious. Every character in this anime is unserious, all in their unique ways, which ends up in a very entertaining result. The premise of Konosuba is that a shut-in high schooler named Sato Kazuma was hit by a bus trying to save a girl and ended up being transported into a fantasy world by a goddess named Aqua after getting a special request granted by her in order for him to defeat the Demon King, who's terrorizing the world Kazuma is about to be transported to. He's quick to form a competent party and quickly levels up his skills as he goes from town to town, heralded as a fearless warrior who will one day defeat the Demon King, whose powerful and wise commanders stay thwarting the entire world. Sounds pretty epic, right? Epic, but generic. Konosuba takes this premise and spits all over it, turning everyone involved in this seemingly epic journey into complete freaky morons who hilariously sabotage themselves and stumble into success. Let's start from the top. Kazuma actually died of shock after he saved a girl from being hit by an extremely slow tractor that was going to stop anyways. Basically, he died for no reason. After that, he meets an all-powerful goddess named Aqua, who lets him request anything he likes to aid him on his journey. Unfortunately for her, she's kinda, well, a bitch. There's no other way of putting it. Kazuma decides to choose her as his legendary item to take with him into this new world. On paper, Aqua's a goddess, so she's already pretty legendary when it comes to her stats and abilities. Unfortunately, she is unfathomably stupid, bitchy, useless, and overall is a major pain in the ass. On top of that, the town Kazuma and Aqua arrive in is pretty much peaceful, and before Kazuma knows it, the dynamic dumbass duo he's a part of with Aqua is working like wage slaves and sleeping in horse stalls, effectively living the same salaryman life in Japan he would have led anyways, except this is way worse. Kazuma himself isn't notable at all in terms of his heroic abilities, as the only thing he has is intelligence and luck. But don't worry, 2 new powerful members decide to help Kazuma on his journey. A crusader from a legendary family who holds crazy influence in the world, and a member of the special Crimson Demon Clan who utilizes the most potent attack magic in the world, explosion magic. With these 3, Kazuma finally gets out of his rut and tackles the world, determined to take the Demon King down. Choose your fighter. Sato Kazuma, the extreme pervert who prides himself in drop-kicking women if the opportunity presents itself, and doesn't really want to put himself in danger and take down the Demon King in the first place if cash and luxury isn't involved. He's also verbally abusive a lot of the time, steals underwear, and dies a lot. Aqua, the goddess of the Axis Church who kinda hates her. She's unbelievably stupid, self-centered, bitchy, and manages to continuously get her squad in terrible situations and fumbles pretty much every good opportunity. Darkness, the masochist crusader who's a freak beyond belief. She's just a freak. No one can match her freak. If torture or pain is involved in any situation, I mean any situation, she's gonna be turned on. And finally, Megumin, the Crimson Demon Mage who can only cast 1 spell a day before she passes out. And she also knows 1 kind of magic and is entirely useless after casting a singular spell. Wait a minute, this party sucks. And that's the point. They have seemingly legendary talent, but they're all idiots inside of a relatively safe town. They take on simple quests like defeating toads just to get eaten by them. They confront major monsters in hopes of saving their town and receiving a reward, just to end up doing something boneheaded and ending up in debt again. Through all these shenanigans, this quartet of idiots grows closer together while trolling each other constantly. They're always putting each other in dumb situations which ends up embarrassing the whole party or getting Kazuma killed, but as time goes on, they all accept that they're morons and are willing to go through difficult obstacles just to ensure the satisfaction satisfaction of one of their party members. Sure, Kazuma's always making really suggestive jokes and sometimes verges on assault with his antics when it comes to Darkness and Megumin, but they also torture him in their own unique ways. The antics go from everyone in the party questioning why the hell someone could do something so stupid to immediately understanding who fucked up and why they did what they did, even if it makes absolutely no sense. Kazuma, who I thought would end up being this really annoying, lazy pervert, actually ended up being the most enjoyable character in Konosuba. He's somewhat of a piece of shit, but he also has oddly moral stances when it comes to taking responsibility of his and his party's fuck-ups, at least most of the time. He's really mean to Aqua, Darkness, and Megumin at times, but he's always the one who ends up helping them at the end of the day, even when he knows what they're doing is stupid. There's so many times where Kazuma's happy that one of these bums are going to be leaving his party, or he's going to be able to go back to his own world, just to realize that he kinda really likes his party despite their extreme pitfalls. He's not exactly the perfect model hero, and he doesn't need to be, especially with his gang of misfits. Aqua, who's known to be very annoying and useless most of the time, genuinely cares about her followers and is very much a competent support mage when she needs to be, and even comforts Kazuma after he's had to deal with the other two's BS. Megumin, who's pretty much useless as a mage apart from one spell, actually cares for Kazuma and her party as well, and genuinely comes up very clutch against major opponents from the Demon King army. In the movie, she even offers to give up her own explosion magic obsession for the good of the party because she didn't want to be useless in major situations after just one spell. Darkness, despite being a complete freak who you can't take out in public because she'd get turned on after tripping over a rock, is actually very prim and proper around nobility and smoothly navigates her party through investigative obstacles using her authority and knowledge of how things work. Everyone in the party has more flaws than fixes, yet they all pull through for each other, even if it means they have to get eaten by hydras, face demons, and overcome terrible debt. But Konosuba wouldn't be all that great if Kazuma's party were the only idiots around, but thankfully, everyone's an idiot. The Demon King generals that everyone's scared of, all very, very unserious morons. Hell, two of them run a magic shop in the starting city and don't even want to fight for the Demon King. Kazuma keeps on accidentally running into these Demon King generals who are revealed to be these fearsome creatures just to be taken down by pure cheese. Even their motivations are unserious, and despite being demonic creatures that kill others, I couldn't help but laugh my ass off every time they got on screen. The unseriousness even spreads to the lore too. For example, the legendary destroyer fortress created by an ancient kingdom that tramples everything in its wake is actually the result of some idiot who said it would be impossible without some bullshit material that was found and subsequently led to the destruction of the kingdom. The dude who created it literally says whoever designed the destroyer is a fucking moron. Bro, it's literally you! This culminates into a hilarious world that no one can take seriously, but one that everyone loves. It manages to make fun of every single isekai trope that we've seen a million times and flips them by making them unserious. Amidst all of this, we get some small, genuine moments of introspection from Kazuma and his party that made me realize that these four really do love each other like a family, and I live for these moments. Having a whole show of unseriousness is great and all, but those small moments really make me appreciate the development Kazuma and Co have gone through, even if that development stems from them stumbling into major achievements and fumbling the easiest pickings. Kazuma, despite not being the physically strongest around, picks up a lot of interesting skills from others. I genuinely enjoy most of the running gags, like Kazuma saying he's Kazuma when someone says his name, or no one believing Aqua's a goddess, not even her own believers, when she is. After a while, the anime stops showing how Kazuma's dumbass dies and starts with him facing a goddess once again to be reincarnated. However, none of this would hit at all if it wasn't for the amazing voice actors. Jun Fukushima, Sora Amamiya, Rie Takahashi, and Ai Kayano are having the time of their lives in the voice acting booth, and you can tell. Every scream, every laugh, every exaggerated grunt, it's all perfection. There's even some bits where there's body switches or mimicking other characters, and all the voice actors settle into their bizarre role immediately, which leads to endlessly hilarious bits. I also love how music is used. Like, there's always an epic build-up accompanied by an empowering soundtrack when the party's about to face a dangerous beast, just for it to get cut off when one of them inevitably messes everything up. There's also a lot of bits that are straight up silence, and it's deafening. The world building is pretty decent and done in a hilarious way that I haven't seen before, and it begins to feel genuinely alive. Sure, I'm not the biggest fan of some of the more suggestive jokes, and I understand this kind of humor really isn't for everyone, but if you love that slapstick anime humor, you'll love Konosuba. Especially considering how much isekai there is now, I'd say Konosuba is even better now than it was back then, which is a testament to how well it's written when it comes to the intent of parodying such a cluttered anime genre.